If you are worried you have Lyme disease, or just like the outdoors, and want the peace of mind of knowing whether you have Lyme disease or not, there is a new Lyme screening test based on decades of research by Dr. Richard Marconi, a professor at VCU Medical Center. For more information, visit glymedx.com, that's glymedx.com, or email at info@glymedx.com.
Infectious diseases, research, medicine, health. Welcome to Outbreak News Interviews. And now, broadcasting from the Outbreak News Skylar Studios in beautiful West Central Florida, here is your host, microbiologist and editor of OutbreakNewsToday.com, Robert Harriman.
Well, hey everybody, this is Robert, and welcome to Outbreak News Interviews, the podcast about everything worms and germs. Now, last month, the National Science Foundation awarded a 3-year, $800,000 grant to explore predictive analytic techniques using data collected by the MyLymeData patient registry. Here to join me to talk about the grant and MyLymeData is Lorraine Johnson, JD, MBA. Lorraine is the CEO of LymeDisease.org. Hi, Lorraine, and welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, Robert, for having me.
You're welcome. Now, last time you were on the podcast, we did spend some time discussing MyLymeData. But for listeners who did not catch that episode, can you talk about what MyLymeData is and how it would be useful to Lyme research?
So MyLymeData is a patient registry, and what it does is it essentially allows patients to pool their data so that we can start to get an idea of what it is that's making people stay ill or what might make them get better. And this capacity to be able to pool data is relatively new. It's as a result of new technology advances. So that now, rather than having small trials being done, we can have thousands, and in fact now we have over 1 million data points that have been collected in MyLymeData. And for Lyme disease, that's quite a big step forward because our largest research study prior to MyLymeData only had 129 people enrolled in it, and it was conducted over 14 years ago.
Now, as I mentioned in the intro, the big news was this significant grant, $800,000 grant from the National Science Foundation. Exciting news. Lorraine, can you talk with a little more specifics about the grant, the collaborations, and what do you believe will be accomplished here?
Well, this grant from the National Science Foundation is really significant. It was a grant that was made to a team of researchers from UCLA and Claremont McKenna. It's Deanna Needle and Blake Hunter are the two primary researchers, and of course they're working with graduate students as well on the grant. But the grant is for a 3-year period of time, and what they will be doing is they'll be looking at this vast database that we have and using it to do two things. The first thing they're going to do is to develop analytic techniques for analyzing large data. And that in itself is very significant because there are many diseases that do not have a lot of data that's been accumulated on them. And Lyme disease happens to be one of those diseases where there's been very little research. So conducting studies with large quantities of data is really important. Being able to take a look at a vast quantity of data and see what patterns there might be there at the beginning of research rather than at the end is an extraordinary advantage. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can look at the data and see, well, what might be some hypotheses that we should be exploring. So I think, when the National Science Foundation stepped in here, I think it was the size of the database, the fact that we had so many data points, and the interest that the National Science Foundation has in generally pushing research forward into the future. So this brought to them an opportunity to look at a really large database. And then the second point is for Lyme patients, this is a really huge opportunity because the fact that the MyLyme database is being used by these researchers is extraordinary and will help advance the disease significantly by detecting things that we haven't been able to detect before using research techniques.
Well, that's fantastic news. Lorraine, is there anything else you'd like to add concerning MyLymeData or anything exciting going on at LymeDisease.org or anything like that?
Yeah, I would just like to add that the research project that we're doing with the collaborators out of UCLA and Claremont McKenna is a true collaboration, and this is an advanced form of research where the patients are intricately involved in determining what the research questions should be and analyzing the information as it's being uncovered. So, patients have an extraordinary amount of subject matter expertise in Lyme disease, and the researchers collaborate with us and share their finely honed technical skills, and we have a dialogue. It's a true partnership. So I think that's very important for patients to understand. I think it's it's one of the ways that research is going to be able to really make great strides ahead. And I would encourage listeners to go to MyLymeData.org to sign up for MyLymeData if you're not part of that study. And if you're trying to find out information about Lyme disease, go to LymeDisease.org. We have the most extensive collection of information available on the Internet.
Great stuff. So again, it's MyLymeData.org or LymeDisease.org, and we'll put the links up on the podcast so people could check it out. And I want to thank you once again, Lorraine Johnson, for spending this time with me, and congratulations.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay.